Hi, I'm Mack, and I'm on a mission to see the hurting get healed and the healed go out and heal others, in order for all of us to experience the true love and light we desire. This podcast is me sharing my journey with you, so you don't feel alone in your journey. Welcome to the Golden Rule Revolution. Hello, brothers and sisters, and welcome back to another episode of the Golden Rule Revolution. I am Mack. Thank you for joining me on this episode. I'm so excited to bring an amazing, dear sister who I love, Amanda LeGrand. She is, she's someone who I've been following. I've had her on the podcast before, like more than 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago. And I started following her when she started her journey of her van life living, where she retrofitted a van and started traveling the country. Since then, we've become good friends. And in this episode, we talk about the changes that have happened, how we realized we step into sovereignty, when we realized we stepped into sovereignty, and also what that calling is, where all of us who are here to be love and light have always known that we were here for a purpose. So this is a beautiful episode. And dear sister, thank you for joining. So everyone, like I just said, I'm so excited to bring back Amanda LeGrand for the second time on the podcast. It's been a while since we recorded the first episode. I think you were just at the beginning of the van life journey that you were on, right?
Yeah, I feel like I was in my van when we did the interview.
Yeah, I think you were. That's amazing. Like we talk about offline on this call, what a wild journey it's been for everyone. And you've certainly been on an amazing journey. I don't know, let's just start with the van journey that you went on. For people that may not have listened to the first episode, what was that? What did you do? What was the whole concept? And how was that for you?
So I can actually remember where I was when we did the other podcast recording. And so I was in the van. It was at 2020, near the beginning of the year, I think.
Yes.
And I was like in Arizona, parked outside my grandma's house or something. But I was inside the van, and it was just like an idea at that time of what it would look like. I knew that I wanted to travel solo for a minute after I got divorced. I wanted that to be, or not even I knew that would be part of my healing journey. Was going out. I had this vague idea it would be in a van and then I would be riding along the way. And so then fast forward 2 years, that happened. It's done. It was not at that point in time when you and I talked, but like that summer. So months after. So I think we talked right before COVID, I feel like.
Yeah, I think so too. Yep.
And so then that all happened and everything went a little sideways. And then I picked up the van thing again in June of that year. So June of 2020, went to Sedona, pulled up to my camp spot, didn't know where I was going to camp, just kind of like was winging it the whole time.
Wow.
Pulled up, and as I had my door open, the side sliding door open, watching the sunset, I'm like, I feel it. This is exactly what I came out to do. And it was something that I couldn't understand before I was directly in the experience.
Beautiful.
That's what it would be. So then I continued the summer in Sedona in the van, and it was just this magical, everything unfolding at the right time, not really planning anything, but just seeing all the pieces line up. And I got to experience being in San Diego in the van, and I got to go up to Flagstaff in the van. And every night I'd go to hot yoga, and then I'd have my own solo time writing at night in the van. And it just was that perfect little amount of time that let my heart process through everything. And I think I'm feeling like being solitary for a moment. I just want to say this out loud. Being solitary for a moment is so healing, and it's so helpful.
In
Because
what?
when I was,
Yeah.
yeah, well, I was thinking of how I was out in the desert and I really had nothing else beside myself. Like my own little routine.
Mm.
I'd come home to myself, and it's not even like I came home to myself in a house. Like I came home to myself inside the little van. And it just gave me that one-on-one time,
Mm.
no distractions.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so I think I got through a huge core of my healing process doing that,
How much
being
of
out.
your time was reflecting back, and how much of your time was you thinking forward and life, what it could be? Do you any?
Interesting question.
Yeah.
Um, what a question. Wow. So it was reflecting back, but not a lot, like enough to process it.
Mhm.
A lot of it was in the moment. It was just coming to terms with like connecting to me and what am I feeling right now
Mm.
and like real time processing.
Mm.
Um, but I feel like if I were like quantifying that for your question, it just really wasn't like a whole lot of reflection besides just like going through it once.
Got it.
This is
Yeah.
what happened.
Yeah.
And then like, how do I feel right now? What is happening right now? And maybe like referencing why I felt the way I felt in the
Mhm.
moment
Mhm.
by looking in the past.
Mhm.
But a lot of it was real time.
Beautiful.
And then a little bit into some, like it felt prophetic in a way that I was clearing out space and I could kind of see more clearly what forward could look like.
Hmm. That's beautiful. Clearing out space so you could see it forward more. Yeah, that's um the solitude. How much? I mean, and we'll get into so much more, but even I think of driving, we have all so many options: calling people, podcasts, music, silence. Like, what did it ebb and flow? Like, what was your routine while you were on the road driving?
Specifically driving to different places.
Yeah, yeah.
I think in the beginning it was scheduling phone calls, trying to be productive, this obsession with productivity um, while I was driving, and then it tapered off. And so now when I hardly talk on the phone when I'm driving now. It's more either I'm taking something in or I'm just in complete silence for hours and hours.
Wow,
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that you have learned, even the van life, but even everything we know? I mean, you and I talk about sharing
Mm-hmm.
what you
Mm-hmm.
learned, how the world's changed, who you were, who you are, who you thought you were, who you really are, the strength that you have, the Mother Earth energy that you bring, like all these things that you've uncovered. Like, what have you learned through this whole journey?
Isn't that funny? Because now I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I've learned so much in 2 years.
Yeah.
Because all of that van stuff, I know we started with it because it's a point of, that's where we were a couple of years ago,
Yeah.
but it feels so far away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's barely a memory to me now because so much has happened since then in my own growth with the world. Um, and I want to start there again just to say, like, I think that gave me a really good anchor
Mm.
in myself, because when I went out and when I had that night, as I'm looking in the sunset, I'm like, yeah, this is exactly it. I feel it in my bones.
Mm.
That helped solidify the relationship with me and the relationship with, like, I knew it and I didn't know what it would look like yet, but I knew that I knew it.
Mm.
And so then from there on, when I knew something, when something popped up in my intuition, but I didn't quite know the details and it didn't quite make sense, but I just knew it. I can go back and think, oh, I remember what that feels like.
Mm.
And I know that I know.
Yeah.
And so like a muscle, it's just like, it was like that repetition of flexing my own sovereignty, my own intuitive knowing, and just getting stronger and stronger in the last 2 years. So I feel like that's been the biggest thing for me, because I've had lots of opportunities to tap in and work that muscle. 2021, I kind of wrapped up the van traveling, and I went and I rooted in Nashville for a minute. I knew that I wanted like a place to land. And so that's where, what I called home. And then I'm trying to think of what other points to hit. I don't want to dive too far into it. So go ahead and continue with the questions and I'll respond.
Well, Nashville, let's just use that as a point of reference. It is the music city. It's the music capital of the world. It's dynamic. There's a lot of energy there. But also you went back and the world was different.
Yes.
So
yes.
What was that like? Did you feel like you fit in? Were you explain that whole journey?
Oh, okay. Perfect and beautiful. Yes. Because here's the thing. And I'm going to be very open and candid. I had a couple of motivations for going back to Nashville. And one, like I mentioned, it was to get some grounding and to rest for a minute, because I'd been traveling even before the van life, I'd been nomadic for 5 years about. And so I just was tired and I wanted to like lay my head down somewhere that wasn't moving. And Nashville's where I'd been before. So it was a place that had called to me back in like 2012, 2013, went to Nashville, loved it, fell in love with it. All the uniqueness and what it was at that time, kind of more of a grassroots feel and growing and everything. It's different now, but I fell in love with all of that. And so, then I take a van journey and then I come back to Nashville. It was almost like going back in time, but nothing's quite the same. It's like part of me hoped for that nostalgic feel of like, remember when it felt this way and I was so excited and but the world keeps changing. We know that wherever we are. And so and I had changed, and I was speaking with somebody a year ago about how I felt like everybody around me, they maybe grew a year in the last year, but I felt like I'd grown 5 or 10 years in the last year. So it was hard for me to relate. I'm like, do I actually need to be in Nashville? Am I going to find somebody that gets me, that really gets me while I'm here? Because I feel like all of this is outdated almost.
Yeah.
So that's an excellent question, because I was kind of struggling a little bit with that, or just, it was a bit uncomfortable when I was in Nashville the first 2-3 months. I had yet to finish my book, but I was working on the book at the time. And I'm like, I don't even know how to do this while I'm here, because I feel foreign.
Yeah. Did you, I think it's everyone that listens to my podcast, or the majority, I think, are the banner of sovereignty is such a big banner for them, or importance. But there's a lot of pressure for you to submit to the narrative, and you never did. And did you have the view of yourself prior? Like, when did you realize who you actually are in light of all that? Because I remember when we were talking one time and you were in Nashville, and there was the pressure and the squeeze and all the just bizarre energies flying around at the time for everyone in the world. But when did you wake up to, wow, I am this grounded, incredibly powerful person? Like, when did you wake up, or have you woken up to that? Like, but it seems like such an interesting thing. Like, when, because you are so strong. So when did you realize that?
First of all, thank you for the compliment and the acknowledgement. I'm like, oh, wow.
Well,
thank you.
I think you are. I mean, you traveled by yourself in a van. It's pretty impressive.
We forget things, though.
Yeah.
In the middle of it,
Mm.
I feel like it's almost similar to that intuition story, how you don't quite know, but you have a feeling. So in the middle of it, I just had that knowing of like, this is bizarre.
Mm.
And no, first of all, don't tell me what to do. That's how I always, that's
Yes.
how I feel in
Yes.
general.
That's right. That's right.
I will like kick back immediately when that energy starts flowing.
Yeah.
But secondly, just like seeing kind of a whole picture view, like without going into a lot of detail, I started seeing the incongruency of like, do this for your health and we'll reward you with really unhealthy
Yeah.
benefits.
Right.
And I'm just like none of it made any sense.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So in the middle of it, I'm like, what? And then it started another trail of thought where I'm like, why did I come back and try to fit myself into a place that I've outgrown
Yeah. Yeah.
years ago?
Yeah. Yeah.
Even my way of life, like what I was doing for work, what I was trying to like fit into that other narrative that was being laid out for me. And I'm like, wait a second, this was never my story 10 years ago, 20 years ago. And so why am I trying to fit? What feeling am I trying to grab onto and hold on to? And then I realized like, I already have all of that.
Yeah.
I don't need to search outside of myself or try to fit in with what they're telling me to do because I'm beyond that.
Mm-hmm.
And I already know what they can't even see. So there was a little bit of that feeling last year. And then fast forward a year after I already made the decision and I've, it's one thing to stand up to people that you work with or
Right.
as an acquaintance. It's another thing to start standing up to the people closest to you.
Yeah.
And so doing that, with family and all of that, and fast forwarding a year later, it's not funny, but like it's a little bit funny because I'm just like, again, that strong bond between what I thought that I knew and I know that I know.
Yes. Yes.
It's just shown itself. And it's not an I told you so moment either. It's just confirmation. I know who I am. You don't need to tell me who I am.
Right. Have you, I was talking to someone this morning in a coaching call. They said, I've always felt different. I always felt like from the very first time I was here to make a big impact. I've always known this. And they've gone through massive trauma, which is how they got connected to me. Someone referred them to me. And I said, yeah, exactly. Same. And have you always felt that?
Yeah. Like a huge weirdo.
Yeah. It's so funny. And we ended the call with me telling her, don't use the word weird. It's so interesting. That word weird. And so many of the coaching calls I have, people say weird a lot. Like, that's weird or it's weird. I know it sounds weird and weird. I'm like, whose word is that?
Yeah.
But it is. We feel like we're like looking around like we don't belong here. This is bizarre.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when did you first, do you remember like being real young? Like when did that first awake to your
I love your questions. You're really good at these deep digging questions. Really young.
Mm-hmm.
I'm now searching in my mind for like an exact age or moment, but I know it was very, very young. First of all, I feel like I've always had tremendous drive and like faith. Like
beautiful.
If I know something's gonna happen, it's gonna happen. Like it just something within me. I'm wired that way. But I've always had the feelings.
Yep.
Most people around me, like growing up, I remember feeling really strange. I'll think of other words to use. I know strange is like good. Weird cousin.
Yeah, that's right.
But I remember feeling so, the black sheep. Like, so why am I the one that like feels everything so deeply?
Right.
why am I the one that can see through all of this BS when I'm like 8, you
Yes.
know?
Right. Right.
But then I'm told when I'm 8 to not trust myself.
Exactly. Yep.
And to stop talking about it, or to stop digging, or to, just look away.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew back then,
Yeah.
I think I, at one point, was having a conversation with my mom, and I told her, I know a lot more than you think I know.
Yeah.
And I'm like, elementary school kid.
That's so funny. I told my mom, I've never shared this, but I remember being in the car and must have been in second or third grade. And I said, I'm really smart. And my mom said, why are you really smart? I said, because of the thoughts that I think. And she turned to me and said, your thoughts don't make you smart. And I was like, oh, okay.
Aww.
All right, I guess not. But I remember I always looked at things differently. I always thought differently. Which is interesting. So I just got off the call this morning talking to this client about this, that we've always felt different. We've always felt this purpose.
Yeah.
And I had a half hour between this recording and that call. And I was sitting in the kitchen drinking some coffee. And I'm like, what? You grew up in a form of Christianity. I grew up in Christianity. And what does Christianity say? It's like blanket statement. Everyone's wrong. And only few who change in the premise of everyone's wrong into this other world will be right. But then I look around, I know many people who have, if I say I've always felt this, I have always, as far as I can remember, meant like I'm here to really change the world. Like,
yeah,
I'm actually, this planet is not even as big as I actually view, like, as far as it goes in every way. But then some people I'll talk to and they're like, what are you talking about? Like, I just want to work and have my job and buy my things and sports. And I'm like, I can't. And it's like,
I know that feeling.
Is it, in the kitchen, I'm like, well, is this whole matrix system even necessary? Like, those who don't feel that, they're not less than or made to be wrong, but we're not made to be wrong either. It's just we go through this experience who we've chosen to be in this realm. And there's no like convincing, coercing, like, oh, we're all sinners. You all need to. It's like, I'm here for an experience and I'm experiencing. I don't even know the full articulation of it, but it seems so different than. I think people are finally be honest. I've always felt different. I never fit in. I was voted. It's so strange not to make this about myself, but
no, please do.
I never fit in, and it never made sense because I was also very popular, but I was a musician. I wrote music. I'm very depressed in high school, but I voted best personality because I had to put that mask on so I didn't get hurt. So people thought I was always happy or but I wasn't. It's such a strange thing. And to look back on that, and then professionally, before my healing journey, this is like in 2017, I was working at Microsoft, and I called my buddy who also worked at Microsoft, who I think is the smartest guy in the world, Marshall. Just love this beautiful soul. And I call him, and I'm in a cafeteria, and there's probably 300, 400 people in there, and they're all professionals. We're all working. And I call him, and I start crying. And I'm like, I don't belong here. Like, I'm not like everyone. I don't think like everyone. Like, I don't understand. Like, I used to think I was broken or I wasn't wired right, but now I'm like, I'm wired amazingly. Like, I never fit into the system.
Yeah.
So I don't know what you've always felt that. That's incredible.
Yeah,
the gaslighting, intentionally or unintentionally, just gets passed on to us, and we start dismissing the gifts and the uniqueness. Yeah.
And it starts so young. I just had this experience a couple days ago. My nephew just turned 7. He's amazing, and he's so outgoing, and he's so sweet, and he's got a beautiful singing voice. Like he can match any pitch.
Cool.
And he just started going to school the last few years. And so this, we have all these systems placed on us. Christianity is one, general society societal norms is another,
education another. Yeah.
Right. And so he's filtering into what that is just within the last few years. And my mom and I were talking, and it's kind of sad to watch this beautiful, bright young boy start trying to fit in.
Yeah.
And he even started singing something the other day and stopped. And I told him, "You have a beautiful voice." And he's like, "No, I don't." I'm like, "But why would you say that? Who told you that you didn't?" Because you do.
Right.
And that's what's true. And it's just like we are sitting back and watching him lose parts of himself just because we have this system that as we grow older, we filter through. And there are ways around it, but like we all are born into earth. And so we all experience it in some way.
Yes.
And so it happens, no matter the degree of what it happens in, the perfect, beautiful being that we come into life as gets shaded and pushed down, and and then we think we're wrong or broken or not supposed to be here.
Right.
But I still have those thoughts every once in a while, just like last week or whenever that was, where you slip into that. I think if you're far enough away from all the people that understand you, or maybe far enough away from something that like your soul is connected to, that it's easy to start thinking that way.
Yeah. The isolationism.
Yeah. Just like, I'm broken. I'm not on purpose. When it's like the opposite.
Right.
It's just because we're trying to fit into something that we're beyond. Not even like it's not for us. It's just we're too big for it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. We are, and that's okay to say and hold space for ourselves to this morning I was talking about I assume everyone listening to this has dove into a pool of water, and when we dive, we know intrinsically that we will come back up for air. But so many things, so I believe that we've chosen this whole existence, that our souls came into every family, every home, every experience, every trauma, everything. And it's this grand dive that we go in, and then we're in the water with all this experience to come out and bring forth like the fullness of our breath and this, like, what have I learned in the dive? And yet there are so many forces that want to keep us in the water, keep us stuck in people. And that's where the panic is happening right now. I think with so many people, it's like when you're saying, when we talked a couple weeks ago, it's like, there's sometimes it's like, we're all on our own dive. We're all on our own water experience. We're all in our own path. But sometimes if we don't know that we're also diving with others, it's like, oh, where am I too deep? Can I make it to the surface? Like, do I need to breathe? And that's, in a cool way, from a game perspective, overcoming that is the greatest. It's like the last level before you win, the level of the game or whatever. Yeah. And from a journey perspective, I really see a lot of people working through that right now at this time. The world is about to flip. In fact, I think it's going to flip so quickly. There are so many different matrices. This is why it's like you jump from one matrix to the next. I was listening to these people talk the other day, and they're talking about star seeds and like these words.
Yeah, right.
Matrix words. They're just one matrix to another. Like jump in, like the star seed, even New Earth. I'm just like, I'm so tired of all the words. I just want to be.
Yeah.
I want to be with other people that are being and just love one another and be in this presence. Oh my gosh, like, rise out of the water with that big, beautiful breath. Like, that was incredible. Let's do it again. Like jump
Yeah.
in. Um,
Yeah.
it's just such an interesting time where people are remembering that it's okay that they've always felt different. They've always felt
Mm,
we're powerful. We are
mm.
so powerful. We just withstood the greatest energetic, spiritual, materialistic push to get it. Doesn't matter if people agree or not agree. It's just to get someone to do something. And some being said no. Oh,
Yeah.
I love it. I'm like, oh, no.
It feels good.
It
It
feels
feels
so good. It feels so good. I mean, even if they said wear purple and I don't want to wear purple, like you said, if I don't want to do it,
Yeah.
I'm not doing it. So it's just like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
And that's the victory, the
that is
congruency with self.
100%. It's almost like that was the power I was always looking for, hoping that I could find. And it's like, finally, I got it. Now I have it. And it's like, what do I do with this? Oh, it's the hold space, and we all come out of this. We are the healers.
Oh,
We are who we have always known we are.
yeah.
We are.
Mm. And we forget. I'm not saying that you, I'm not trying to put it on you that you do. I know for me,
No, we forget for sure.
I forget. And
Yeah.
it's a continual remembrance of, oh, yeah. And I feel like with each time it gets stronger again with that idea of the practice
Mm,
and deeper, and then like less time spent forgetting,
yeah.
more time remembering. And I think maybe that's like the whole heaven on earth thing. It's like when
Yes.
you're in more remembrance or more time remembering than you are forgetting.
Right. Um, the concept that be do have
Yeah.
you, I think even we talked about that. I've heard more people say I want to be that for others versus I want to do that for others. And I'm hearing this one little word shift, and it's in the right direction. It's like I want to be someone was asking me like podcast. I'm like, I'm not a podcaster. I'm not in fact, I hate all these words. I'm just me expressing myself in every way, shape, or form. I'm like, the other day I was like, is there something else that I've not expressed myself in? Like, I'm gonna try it. And that's what we all get to remember. Like, we're just emanating through whatever channels, avenues, experiences that we can.
Mm,
And along the way, there's always going to be, I think this is probably the term, the marketer who has already outlined a prescribed path to lead us away from our knowing and our journey. And I'm very
mhm,
sensitive to this lately. It's looking around because my life has not turned out. I love my life and I wouldn't trade it for anything. And it also has not turned out yet the way I thought it was going to turn out. And I don't know. Anyway, it's just interesting. Like there's all these different detours that
mhm.
they tell us a detour is the fastest alternative route. But usually it's like the other, It's like, oh. And then I have to remember, oh, don't take the detour. One of our favorite movies, or one of my favorite movies, and my kids, I'm teaching them to love it as well, is the movie White Christmas. I
Yeah.
love that movie. I'd watch it in the summertime when I was a kid. I'd watch it all the time. And at the beginning, when the general's like to the new general, like, take him the shortcut. And he's like, but sir, that was the long way. He's like, I know that. He knows that. The general doesn't know that yet. And I think that's so often can be this journey too. I don't know.
Mhm.
And just, just,
Yeah.
but the beingness instead of the doing, there's always going to be like what do you do? I hate that question. What do you do?
Mhm.
I'd rather ask people like, who are you?
Yeah. I think a couple months ago or whenever it was, we were catching up and you said something that just makes me giggle and I love it. You were like, I make six figures, like be a, like hustle. He's like, or you said, I'm so bored of this.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm so bored of this culture. And I think of that a lot now because it is kind of old game mentality,
Yes.
to
Yes.
use your words.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I do feel like we wake up in a new system every day.
Yes.
I feel like that personally. I feel like every day I wake up now, everything's moving so quickly. It's all completely brand new.
Yes. Yes. It's almost like the dream world. It's so thin. Like the veil is so thin between what is a dream and what is reality. And even though right now I can say, yeah, I can feel this and I know we're talking, but it's almost like it's so close. Are we talking in the awakening moment or are we talking in the dream state? Like that's I feel how thin the veil is. Um, and it does feel new. Every day is like something new. One thing I was struck by the other day, I want to bring this up. Actually, it was last night. I was struck by this, how subtle the matrix are. I will use this term, the narcissistic hierarchy of control that we find ourselves standing apart from is so subtle. And I was thinking, what? This is how subtle it is. And sometimes I'm like, man, it's very difficult to fight against it. So the FBI raided Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago residence because supposedly he had top secret documents. That's one of the things. Like we're going for the top secret documents. But they released last night, and this is what made me think about this. The subtlety is crazy. They released last night a photo of the documents. That's the irony of it. They're claiming it's top secret, but they broadcasted out that these are the documents we found, and like it was never. I mean, whether they are or they're not, it's the invalidness of this narcissistic gaslighting. It's like, oh, he shouldn't have those, but here's the documents he shouldn't have. Like, why are you showing those to us if they're top secret? It's not top secret or whatever. My point is like this system sounds so virtuous and it sounds so good, but the practical application of it is the complete antithesis of what it says. Like you said, here's health with some poison. Here, maybe they gave Skittles, which Skittles are now banned or whatever, because they had some, like the world's nuts.
The world is nuts.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I got this visual that kind of gave me chills while you were talking. It's like a movie scene, right?
Yes.
And what's been happening for as long as we know is their whole agenda of control, that we were almost, so like two parallel paths, right? Yeah. We were almost underneath that. And then we start to wake up and we start to grow. And this top path starts losing control. And the way I see it is like in a movie, at like a fight scene almost or something, where everything freezes and you see it all happening at once and it's happening really fast, but none of it is happening to you. You're like outside of the situation.
Yeah,
and the music's going and it's like a crescendo almost. But I just see like the power, or what is supposed power, fading off. It can't even touch us. It never has been able to touch us, but it's been alluding to that and shadowing our gifts and all of that for so long. But I see it just fading off with this crescendo of music and us like rising above. And it just like the easiest thing to flow away, like the wind, it just goes away, and it's not even us pushing it away. It just falls away.
Right.
And then we just rise, and there was no force involved. We just became more and more of ourselves and had more and more of an understanding of our power, our connection to Earth. We are Earth. We are connected to each other. And it just, and I don't know where that came from.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful.
But I have chills of thinking of that is how it feels right now. That's the speed at which it feels like everything is moving. Yes. Like we don't even need the words anymore to talk about it. It just is.
It is. Beautiful. It is. Yes, it is. So when you were sharing that, I saw, and I'll ask you a question about what tree are you? So I'll give you a second. What type of tree are you? So in Psalm 1:1 or Psalm 1, it says, blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful, but his delight is in the law of the Lord. And what is the law of the Lord? When they asked Jesus, what's the greatest commandment? Is to love God, love each other. Love, like walk in love, breathe in love. So meditate, and in his law does he meditate day and night. So I'll finish the verse. And he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water that bringeth forth his fruit in his season, that whatsoever he doeth shall prosper, but the wicked are not so. They are like the chaff which the wind driveth away.
Chills.
That's it. And I feel like, what's so cool? We're entering the age of Aquarius. I actually don't think time is so crazy. Timelines and time, and what year is it? I don't even think it's 2022. There is a video that's been circulating that this person found a King James Bible from 1813. And in the Bible, they explain what year it was in 1813 in the Hebrew calendar. And so the guy found this family Bible, and he said, well, if I add the years from 1813 to now, it would put us in 5998, which 2 more years, then you hit the 6,000 years, which 6 days of creation, day with the Lord is 1,000 years, 1,000 years a day. Then you get the millennial reign of Christ, which would be the day of rest. But the Hebrew calendar that all my Orthodox family goes off of is like 5779 or something like that. So it's almost 200 years off. So point is, like, what year is it? What time is it? What thing is it? I don't even know. But we are entering the age of Aquarius, and the age of Aquarius is the age of water, and water is life. Why did they say there's life on this planet, but they don't know if there's life on Mars? Can they find water on any other planet? Like, water is life. So as you're showing, like, it's so beautiful. Like, it just is, and it's getting moved away. The trees that are growing are rooted in the water, are rooted. And it's taken a long time for us to get rooted. And I think I've shared this with you. Like I kept talking about this wall of water that I saw. Something is coming. I felt like it was going to fall. And I said, first comes truth, then comes healing. There has to be truth. And that's the only way we can heal. And I said, I feel like God is, because he won't cross anyone's will, is waiting to the very last possible smaller than second, whatever that time is, millisecond, for those who say, I want to choose the world that was, or I want to stand for what will be. And it's so fascinating because, like you're saying, they're trying to choose into this world that is going, and they don't know what to do. They're like, wait, I thought that, and it's like, it's going away. Fascinating right now. And it's fun. And remember, I'll never forget, I was like, you have Mother Earth energy, like, tap in. So what tree do you ascribe? Like, when you think of a tree, what do you see yourself as?
Okay, get this. I don't know. I love nature. I love plants. I love that, but I'm not studying it. So I don't know the difference between the different trees. I could just admire their beauty, right? But the first thing that popped into my head was oak.
Yeah.
So maybe you can tell me.
That's what I was going to tell you. Oak. Yeah.
Really?
Mighty oak tree. Like, yes. Yeah. That's really cool. That oak. Yeah.
So, like, what? So properties of an oak tree, I don't even know. I'd have to research.
Well, the wood is so strong. Like, think of, like, in Texas, there's no oak trees in Washington State where we moved from, but being down here, it seems like in the pine and fir trees that we had access to, there was like a bird's nest, maybe so long, but in these oak trees, it's so vast. Like, there's multiple bird's nests. There's like massive amounts of life and bug sounds. Oh, this is wild. So there's this host to it, and it's profound. It is funny. One of the lead mentor tutors asked them this question, because I go through this P shall be like a tree, and I'm like, what type of tree? I asked at the beginning, without context, if you're going to be a tree, what type of tree are you? And no one has picked palm tree yet, but it's funny. It's like palm trees. I use this example in the teachings. Like, they're so beautiful. Like, when I see a palm tree in its right context, grow naturally, I'm like,
yeah.
Oh, it's so beautiful, and palm fronds and coconuts and tropics. But where it is at, it's by the water. Always by palm trees naturally grow by water, but palm trees are not necessarily functional for like anything but the feel, the vibe that it gives you. So some people, rightfully so, are palm trees, and that's beautiful for they just being around them put you in that right presence. And some people are the oak tree to hold space for, and some are the pine, and some are the fir, and some are deciduous, some are evergreen. And I don't think there's a right or wrong. I just think it's fascinating when we think like, well, what type of tree am I? And I feel like I'm like an first growth, like I don't know, just a mighty cedar tree, like ready to,
Yeah.
like, people could drive underneath it and still like
Yeah.
I just see like trees are so cool. And spiritually, I grew up in an insane home, but one of the contexts of like judging tree huggers, that was like a thing, like, oh, tree huggers and living in the Pacific Northwest, there's certainly a lot
Yeah.
of people out in nature.
Yeah.
But now, like, I will put my hands on a trunk, and it doesn't matter. And I'll rest my forehead. And even right now, I can feel like I love trees. And so I love trees. I'm going to say it on the podcast. I love trees. Brick, are you looking at things and saying you like it? I like lamp. Okay. Yes. But it's so fascinating. And it's all I think has to do with energy and tapped into source.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I don't know.
It's beautiful.
But
It's
I do love you're
beautiful.
saying the is. It just simply is. Simply.
Yeah. I spent so much time in the figuring out. I think we start spinning our wheels in the figuring out, and it's like that's actually not it, guys. That's not. If you want to, if that's fun for you, sure.
Yeah.
But if it's stressing you out and it's causing you to separate from who you really are, then you're just being distracted and being out of your power. And so, yeah, so I would get obsessed with the figuring out. And even like I've had so many transitions right now, all I can say is I am here. That's it. I'm here. But I've been obsessed previously with like, well, where am I going next? And what does this look like? And when do I, and it's like that, none of that means anything.
No. And really, are you even asking that for yourself, even though you're the one asking, or are you asking that to give an answer for someone else who would ask? Right?
Yeah. Who cares?
Who cares? Right? I'm here. Like, I'm alive and I'm having fun. Yeah. It's almost like we're trying to figure this out to give an answer for someone else who's asking, and their life or acceptance means nothing.
Yes, right. And that's so 10 years ago too, getting together with family members and them asking your plans and all that, and that being a stress, years ago. I feel like I'm so like far away from that idea, but I know that people still face that where they have to go tell their relatives what they're doing or whatever it might be, because we have so many image-based rituals.
Yes.
So where was I going with that? That it's just
you're here. Yeah.
Yeah. That it's like, ask them, why do they ask? Well, why don't you have a better question? Or, it doesn't have to be that combative. Just
if you want it to be, it's kind of
energy in, but
that's so why? I mean, we are conditioned. The second question that we're conditioned to ask people after we exchange names is, what do you do?
Yeah.
Such a demeaning. It's like, what do you do for whom? Myself? For my boss? Like, I hate doing things for. I mean, it's such a strange question. What do you do?
Yeah. And it's all conditioned to keep us small. Let me fit into a box that makes sense to you.
Yes. No. Man, it's so fascinating. Your book. You're writing right now. You're back in writing and presence. Tell me about this book.
Yes, I am. Yeah. So that's been a fun process that's been put on hold and picked back up and put on hold again. And I'm at the point where I'm not making any of it mean anything or be wrong or unnecessary pressure. But it has been until now the journey of my healing post-divorce, because of the sentiment of like feeling like I'm waking up in a new reality every day. Part of me is torn because I'm like, that is so ancient news. Do I even need to be talking about it? Part of me says yes, because just because I'm at a certain place, like we're all at different places, it could be effective and supportive for somebody else. Part of me, like, it's like a snooze fest because I'm like, I don't even struggle with any of that anymore. But again, like, why would I write a book? I already know what happened. I don't need to really write it for me. So if I am going to write it for other people, like, go ahead, like, I get to finish it. But yeah, it's probably 75%.
Beautiful.
And it actually is, now that I say all of that, I'm going to contradict myself. It is really amazing and wonderful to read what I wrote previously and to teach and coach myself from my own mouth, you know, like my own prior self is time traveling, teaching me things. Because there are things that I was saying in 2020, like, I just want this. I can't wait for me. And then I lived it. And so one, like, wow, we're so powerful. Anything that comes out of our mouths is and can be, if we believe it, right? But all of that pain and all of that hurt and all of that, not to minimize any of it, but it passes.
Yes.
And there is so much fruit on the other side. Like, who I am. I remember making posts on Instagram back in like 2017, thinking, man, I'm going to be so badass once I'm done with this. And life hands us new struggles, but I can look at myself now and think, yeah, Amanda now compared to like Amanda then. I feel pretty proud and centered and thankful that I made it to the other side.
And you really have.
Thank you.
You really have. You're so awesome. I just think you're awesome. You know that. There's a word for you to have, but the journey, the strength, all these things. It's cool that how even we got connected. I don't even really remember exactly the first initial like connection, but similar like emotional intelligence training and people and content and things and all these. But to really find, I think what's cool to observe your journey that feels parallel with mine is we found ourselves, not the thing, not the next, you know. I forever I'll share, like, because I was doing a lot of keynote speaking, a lot of motivational speaking. I'd hear like the next Tony Robbins, like, yeah, I could be the next. Like, I don't want to be the next anything. I'm just me, and I want to be version of myself. I don't want to fit in any. I think I'm watching you too. It's just been really beautiful for you to come into. You are here to share your journey, and it's really beautiful. So, thanks for coming on and hanging with me and doing this. This is fun.
Thank you for the reassurance. I think that's been the biggest thing in the whole. It's almost like there are big obstacles and smaller obstacles, and they're all teaching the same thing. Come back home to yourself. Come back home to yourself. And so reclaiming parts of myself throughout the journey has been so fun. And there's something else I was going to say, but now I don't know.
Coming into your own, not fitting another thing, like another.
Like all those aspirations they do just fall away, and you're like, well, it's just being me is enough.
Yes.
And I'm going to do some really cool shit too, but being me.
Yes, you're going to do it because
that's
you're
enough.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. How can people find you, follow you, connect with you? You are a person to first of all, everyone, Mandy writes, well, you go by Mandy's memos, but Amanda
Yeah.
writes such beautiful words and sentiment. And so where can people find you?
Thank you. That's sweet. I'm giggling at the idea of how we follow each other.
Oh yeah, that's true.
But yes, I love it. My Instagram right now is Mandy's Memos. That's it. I'm revamping my website. Just come find me on Instagram, hang out. Sometimes I post, sometimes I go through a while not posting, but I'm learning the whole time and I'm sharing. Even though sometimes I don't want to share.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Yeah.
But I think that's a human part of it. Like I'll come back and reground and yeah. So, and then hopefully, within the year, get a book out, start being external and expressive with more pieces of me.
Yes. I think that's really beautiful. I'm excited for you to do that. And I'm going to hold space for you to do that so I can read it too. I think, it's okay to time travel. It's okay to not, because I'm working on this book that I wrote and I'm going to come out with it. And I paused because it triggered the editor that I sent it to massively. I mean, I was like, what is happening? And it's like, if someone believes the complete opposite thing of what I'm saying. So I put it on pause for a while and I shelved it, but I really think this is what I'm here to say. Like, I feel like I'm maturing I've been asking like, God, like, what am I really here to say? I talk about a lot of stuff, healing, vulnerability, sovereignty, all these things, but it's like, there's some maturing of what I'm here to lead into. And I feel like this is what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yes. You have to grow into it.
Yes.
It's there and you have to enhance into the full capacity of it.
Right.
I love that.
You're awesome.
I hope that you're leading a retreat soon, and I hope to be able to be there. And
that'd be amazing. You will. We will. We'll do it. We'll do it. I will put I'll put your handle in the show notes, so everyone go follow Mandy's Memos. And sis, thank you. I love you. Thanks for coming on. And everyone, thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Lucas.
Well, I love that conversation. Amanda, thank you again. I will put her contact information, her Instagram handle in the show notes. But I would also ask you guys the same question. What type of tree are you? And also know it's possible to change what type of tree you are. Sometimes it's up to us to uproot that which we've been planted in so that we can make a change and adjust the terrain. Are we planted by the rivers where there's constant water flow? Are we planted in a garden where we're relying on a sprinkler system to give us water? That's up to you. But you and I, we get to change. We get to choose. We get to adjust because we are free, which is what the shirt I'm wearing right now says, live free. I bless you all. Thank you for joining. Make sure you like, subscribe, share this podcast, follow along the journey. You are not alone. That is such an important knowing during this time. You are not alone. We are all walking this journey together. And I love you all. I bless you all. I am Lucas Mack. This is the Golden Rule Revolution, and I'll talk to you on the next episode. Thank you, brothers and sisters, for listening. For support in your journey, go to my website, lucasmack.com.